Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Alex here, and today we're going to talk about one of the three primary guns in my daily carry rotation. This one has been a big favorite of mine here recently, and that is the Smith Wesson Bodyguard 2.0 in 380. I am a huge gun enthusiast, but I am somewhat of a lazy concealed carrier. And what I mean by that is not that I don't carry. I do carry every day and just about everywhere I go. But I am not the guy to carry a big full-size gun with a flashlight and a spare reload. I come from, a competition shooting background the last 10 years or so. Now, prior to that, I was pretty plugged into, gun culture and wanted the latest and greatest cool guy carry and all that stuff. But, as I've bought different stuff, carried it, learned, I have sort of moved away from the bigger guns. In the competition shooting world, we call the guys on the tactical side tactical Timmies, I've got a little bit of tactical Timmy in me, but I'm not going to carry a Glock 19 or a Glock 17 with an X300 and a spare mag. Now, I know guys that do that. Some of my good friends do that. Love it for them. I hope there's more guys out there that do that sort of thing. It's just not for me. I'm big on having sort of a lightweight carry setup. I play around with that in like the pocket knives that I have, and I do carry a flashlight every day, but not a weapon mounted flashlight. And it's one of those things where I'm just not going to carry a gun that big. I consume a lot of the active self-protection, John Correa's content. He does a lot of civilian shooting analysis and has collected a ton of really good data over the years, and just statistically the reloads and the weapon mounted light, you're not going to need a lot of that stuff. So I tend to carry more streamline. I live in a good part of town. It's a very safe area. So mostly when I'm daily carrying, I'm perfectly content carrying this little 380 around with a 10 round flush pick mag, so 11 with one in the pipe, or with an extended 12 round mag, so you can have 13 in the gun. Carrying that around, I feel perfectly safe. I do practice with this gun a decent amount. I can shoot it pretty well, particularly in the distances that it's sort of meant for. And I really like it. Now, I've owned a lot of these little pocket type guns. Now, I don't carry this in my pocket. It's a little too big for me. I don't wear cargo shorts. I was devastated when my wife told me that cargo shorts weren't cool anymore. I wear, I guess, normal style shorts for a guy my age, and just this gun is just it's just a little bit too big for me to want to pocket carry it. So I do carry it appendix. I carry it in a tier 1 concealment holster here. So real quick editor's note here, it turns out this may not be a tier 1 concealment holster. It's definitely got a tier 1 concealment clip on it. But my buddy tried to go and buy this holster, and while they do offer their like flagship holsters for the Bodyguard, there is not one that looks like this. So it may be that it was one that they offered in the past, or somebody else just used their clips for their holster. But I can't find a maker's mark on this holster. The only label on it is the tier 1 concealment label on this clip. So take that for what it's worth. It's a great little holster, real sturdy, sort of spring steel belt clip. It disappears, appendix, and I really like that holster. I wish it had a wing on it, but this gun came with it when I bought it. But I carry the gun appendix. You forget it's there. It's super easy to carry, super light. I think it's 10 ounces and some change unloaded. And, it's super lightweight. I feel like, you got enough capacity to do some work if you need to. I can get a full firing grip on the gun. And, the 380 is an anemic round, but you've got enough capacity there as long as you get decent shot placement. I feel like it's enough gun. So really, really like this thing. Compared to other small 380 guns in the weight range, like this thing shoots way better than anything I've shot. The closest thing on the market is probably the LCP Max and maybe the 365 and 380, although that one I feel like is a little bit bigger than these. But this way outshoots, in my opinion, the LCP Max. I've got one of those too. I've got a couple of them actually. I just think it's a great super light, carry gun if, you're not worried about getting into some trouble. Now, if I want to carry something bigger than this, I do carry a P365 X, and mine's sort of customized, so that one's in 9mm. So that would be my carry gun. But we're going to take this gun, we're going to get it out to the range, and I'm going to shoot it in a match, and then I'm going to take it and put it through the Alabama police qualifier. So that qualifier is not particularly hard from a competitive shooting standpoint. I think it'll be interesting to shoot it with this little baby gun with iron sights. But it's got shooting from 25 yards all the way up to 5 yards. It's got some strong hand, weak hand in it. And so I'm going to take it, see if I can pass the police qual with this gun, and then shoot it in the match. So for the match, I'm going to run this gun from concealment how I would normally carry it. So I'm going to have it appendix in my Tier 1 concealment holster. Our stages at this match are generally 24 to 26 rounds. It's not a USPSA match. It's technically a hit factor outlaw match, but it's mostly full of USPSA guys. So the matches are meant to be sort of a somewhat large USPSA style stage. So I'm going to need at least usually 26 rounds of ammo. So I'll shoot it with my flush fit 10 round mag and two 12 round mags. That should be enough to get me through. I may have to do some standing reloads and things like that I wouldn't normally do or try not to do in a match. But somewhat limitations here with this gun and setup. I'll carry one of my spares in. This is a Vetter holsters inside the waistband mag carrier. Now this is for my P365, but these mags sort of fit in there. So I'll have one reload there, and then I will have my second reload in this. This is a Gen 2 Neo mag. So this is the little magnetic little clip. It looks sort of like a knife clip, goes into your pant pocket, and it magnetically holds a reload. Again, I don't carry this as a part of my daily carry. I don't carry a reload, but I will have that for the match. So my first reload will be appendix from this Vetter holsters inside the waistband mag pouch, and then my last reload will be out of the pocket with the Neo mag. So that'll sort of give me a chance. I've shot with this Vetter setup a lot with my P365 in matches, so I'm fairly used to that. And it comes off the same place in my body as I would take a mag from kind of in my competition rig. But it'll be interesting to try out this Neo mag. I have not played with this thing a lot. I got it here recently just for some of this type of stuff. And so it'll be interesting to see how efficient that is, getting that mag out of the pocket. But so we'll shoot the match. We'll get out to the range, we'll shoot that police qual, see if I can get a passing score with it, and then we'll compare the time. So that qualifier is normally shot with a fairly easy par time. So I'll see not only if I can pass score-wise, but see how quickly I can chip off that par time with this thing. And then we'll come back maybe and do a debrief and kind of talk about shooting this gun a little bit. Like one of the things, I really like this gun, but I have found one of my gripes is the sights. So it's got a U-notch rear sight and sort of a high-vis front night sight, but I've found that the notch in the back is extremely wide compared to other stuff, where most of these little guns you get a relatively close matchup with those sights because they don't have to be super precise because it's sort of a close range, you know, concealed carry defense gun. You've got sort of a lot of daylight on the sides of these sights, and I found that I'm not crazy about that in this little gun. With the short sight radius, I feel like there's just way more daylight on either side of that front post than I really like. And maybe I'll try to get some footage where we can sort of see that. We'll see if I can't capture here what I'm talking about with this rear sight. I don't know that I'll be able to do it justice, but it might give you at least a little bit of an idea. But I have heard that the new comp version of this gun, which I'm very interested in getting, it's got I think the sight radius is about the same, but it's got the sort of the cut-in comp on the end of it. But I've heard they've tweaked sort of the sights a little bit as far as that cut, and there's not quite as much daylight out there in the back of that thing in that new one. So I'm interested to check that out. But let's get out to the range, and I will see you guys for the debrief after. Hey guys, we're out here on the range today, getting ready to run a couple of pistols through this course of fire and do some kind of like grouping with them, supported from a sandbag. As far as the course of fire goes, what we're doing is going to be shooting the Alabama Peace Officers and Training Commission's qualification course. So what this is a 50-round course of fire that all Alabama law enforcement has to initially qualify on and requalify on annually. So we're going to start out here at the 25-yard line. You're going to draw and shoot 6 rounds, then kneel and shoot 6 rounds with a 35-second par time. You're allowed to have a barricade for that. I don't have a barricade handy out here today, and I wouldn't use it anyway, so I don't have that here. Following that, the next course of fire, you're going to run up, draw and shoot, run up from the 25-yard line to the 15-yard line, draw and shoot 3 rounds. You have 8 seconds to do that. Then you are going to stay at the 15-yard line. You're going to draw and shoot 3 rounds with a 5-second par time. You have to do that 3 separate times. The next course of fire, you would run from the 15-yard line to the 7-yard line and put 2 rounds from the 7. You're going to have 8 seconds to do that. At the 7, you're then going to draw and fire 12 rounds. You've got 25 seconds to do that. And then the last string is going to be from the 5-yard line. You're going to draw and put 6 rounds strong hand only, then move the gun to your weak hand and shoot 6 rounds weak hand only. So each shot is worth 2 points. We're shooting at an FBI Q target there. So if the shot is inside the Q target or breaks the perf, you get the hit. And if it's outside, you get a miss. So each round's worth 2 for a total of 100 points. A passing score is 70. My brother is a police officer here in Alabama, and I've shot this with him before when he was practicing kind of in the academy, and I've shot this clean. It'll probably be pretty easy to do with some of these guns as far as my competition rigs go, but I'm going to shoot some of these little carry guns on it too, and those should be significantly more challenging. But we're going to try to not only shoot this thing, maybe not clean, but pretty clean, but we want to shoot it really fast. So the par times here are real slow. So I'm going to kind of keep up with my score and kind of times, and then I can kind of look at it compared to other guns and look at both the score and the overall time on this thing. So it should be pretty interesting to kind of to compare and keep up with, and I think this is a good repeatable standard to kind of check out with some of these guns. Okay, so back out at the range a different day because the last time I came out to shoot some of these guns, my shot timer ran out of batteries, and I really wanted to get par times on some of this stuff because I think that's a better comparison when you start looking at some of these tiny guns, getting them out of pockets and things like that, as opposed to appendix rigs or maybe competition rigs in some cases. So I didn't have times last time. I shot the drills anyway with just no time because I feel like I can beat the times on them, but I did want the times for data. And now I got out today to reshoot all these guns, and I realized for my Bodyguard, I forgot my 12 round mags. And so because this gun or this course of fire has two different strings that are 12 shots, I'm gonna have to finagle my shooting with the Bodyguard a little bit and maybe just add the times together because I don't have any spare mags for it like I do for some of these other guns, and I didn't bring the 12 round mag out with me. So you guys just bear with me on that. I'm gonna try to get something in close proximity to make this one make sense compared to all the other ones. But so that's why I'm gonna split this one up a little bit, is because I only have a 10 shot mag, and I've got to figure out how to do two different 12 shot strings of fire. So I'll probably have to stop halfway through, top the mag off, and then pick back up from there and add the times together. It won't be perfect, but it'll be enough to kind of get reasonable proximity. .603. .705 with the draw. .490. .256. .269. .275. .332. .472 with a jam. .161. .311. .611. Let's see how we did here. 140, 41, 42. 43, 44, 45, 46. So it looks like I hit 42 shots with 4 off the paper and 4 completely off the target. So 42 out of 50.
Stand by.
That was my fault. I didn't put the mag in all the way.
767.
Hey, I did reload this ammo too. I hit every shot. I hit every shot.
Is that a Bodyguard 2.0?
Yeah.
Are you ready? Stand by.
Never disappoint. Never.
Are you ready? Stand by.
Show clear, hip clear, hammer down, and holster. 2168. 2 Alpha, 2 Charlie. 1 and 1, 1 and 1.
Oh.
1 and 1. 2 Delta.
Are you ready? Stand by.
Are you ready? Stand by. You're finished. I'm loaded. Show clear. It's clear. Coming down. Range is clear. 1882. Got an Alpha Charlie.
Hey, what was the time?
1882. Alpha Charlie. Alpha Charlie. Alpha Charlie.
Fuck.
2 Charlie.
That's the one I was worried about.
2 Alpha. Stand by.
All right, guys, we're here to do the debrief on the Bodyguard 2. So I have a couple of thoughts after I shot it in the qual and in that match. One is that this gun shoots high left. Most everybody out there knows, if you do any amount of shooting, that typically if you're a right-handed shooter, you tend to drag the gun low left, and maybe a lefty would drag their shots low right from, putting pressure on the gun, pulling the trigger, you force the gun down. This gun shoots high left. And from doing research online and talking to a couple of people I know that have these guns, that tends to seems to be a trend. So I've got a friend that does a lot of traveling around and training, doing a lot of self-defense style combatives, close contact shooting. He's got a myriad of guns. He tries everything, and he had a similar issue with his gun where it shot high left. I think Honest Outlaw, in his review of this gun, I think he mentioned something, if I'm not misremembering that his Bodyguard 2 shot high left. Another place that really showed up was the 25-yard shooting in the A-post qualification. A lot of my shots, I think you can see in the video that they drift off that left side of the target. Could have missed some on the right too. My shooting with this gun at 25 yards was not great. But it was very prevalent in that distance. The shots trended on that left side and they went off the paper on that left side. Now you can drift the sights, and that would sort of fix the horizontal, but it's not going to affect the vertical impact any. So this gun would still be hitting a little high at 12 yards, which is not terrible. I mean, out to 25. Obviously you can put shots all over a man-sized target, as you saw with that Q target is roughly the size of a torso. So you can make hits out at that distance. It just, even closer in, it hits a little high. So you could drift the sights and fix the horizontal, but couldn't do anything about the vertical. The other thing about that is Smith & Wesson sights are notorious for being difficult to drift. I've experienced that myself in the shields, in the full-size M&Ps. Other people on YouTube have said that about this gun, and so it may be a pain to get that sight drifted, and even then it might be enough where you can't get it in line. I think Demonstrated Concepts said he had to drift his so much, like it was riding off the gun, and he couldn't get his to line up. He also wore his out within 2,000 rounds, and I think he's decided that this gun is not reliable enough to carry because of how it wears. I don't have nearly the amount of rounds on this gun that he did or does on his, so I haven't gotten there yet as far as springs weakening or anything like that, but I think he mentioned the sight thing as well. So the other ways you could potentially address that is Veridian came out with a red dot sight for this thing this year at SHOT Show. You drive out the rear sight, that one dovetails into the rear sight. The serrations on the side of that red dot match the serrations on the back of the gun. It looks pretty good. I don't have a lot of experience with Veridian optics. I've always understood them to be sort of cheap, but potentially worth looking into for this. And then I know there's some companies out there that do an actual optic cut on this for an RMSC pattern optic. So that'd be another thing. I think Battlehawk Armory sells some done already where they get them directly from the company that cuts them. The name is escaping me, but you can buy the packages where it's already done and have one of these things with a red dot. So I think I mentioned earlier on in the video that I'm very interested in getting the comped version of this gun to try out. So the comped version with a red dot cut, or potentially that Veridian red dot in the rear dovetail would definitely be something I'd be interested in. And that would fix the problem. Just depending on how well that Veridian laser held out. Now, because I don't pocket carry this gun, that wouldn't be a big deal for me adding a ret dot to this because it doesn't diminish the carrying any. Now, if you're pocket carrying this, you know, that's probably not going to be an option. In regard to the APOSTC qualification, as I mentioned, I had a lot of sights drift off. I wasn't particularly happy with my score there. But the, you know, shooting these irons, I already talked about how much daylight is out there in there, and, you know, this gun already hitting high left, and that seemed to get, you know, obviously will get worse as you go out farther. You know, the APOSTC score was a little rough. Now, I'm going to read off some of my scores in these par times, and I'll try to put them up on the screen too, just to get a comparison. So the first position, because I didn't have my big mags or spare mags, I had to draw, fire 6 shots, stop the timer, reset. I drew again and kneeled down and fired 6 more. So the total time for both of those positions and the 2 draws was 13:08. The par time on that position is 35 seconds. The next position, you move to the position up 10 yards, you draw and fire 3 rounds. I did that in 4:90. The par time's 8 seconds. You are supposed to go from the ready, and in the qual, from the ready would be gun out right below your eye line, and so the target is either, I think, supposed to present itself, or a range officer calls to fire, and you just raise the gun up to your eye and fire 3 shots. I did all these from the draw, so you have 5 seconds to do that. You do it 3 times. I did it in 2:56, 2:69, 2:75. The next position is move up from the 15 to the 7, draw and fire. You have 8 seconds to do that. I did it in 3:32. The next one is the draw and fire 12 continuous shots. So again, I had to break that up. I drew and fired 6 shots in 4:72. I topped my gun off, reset the timer. I had the gun out and ready to go when the timer went off. Shot my 6 other shots. I did that in 1:61. So for, you know, a total time, I didn't write it down, but for those 2 things combined, into the 6 seconds. And then the last position, you have 25 seconds to draw, strong hand 6 rounds, transition to weak hand, 6 more rounds. I did the draw to strong hand in 3:11, and then reset the timer, topped the gun off, and on the timer, switched it to the left hand and did 6 more rounds in 6:11. So the total time that I ran the course was in 44:85. Your total par time, if you combine everything, is 116 seconds, and I had 42 out of 50 hits within the scoring zone. So that's a total of 84. That is a passing score. Passing is 70, but, you know, not a great score in my opinion. I can shoot this clean with a full-size gun and a red dot. Now shooting it with a tiny gun and iron sights is different, but I would have liked to see my score, you know, be a little bit better than that. And I think I'm capable of shooting it a little bit better than that while keeping up these speeds. Because you do have obviously plenty of time to get these shots in, and if you did slow down, I could probably be more accurate, but I do want to push the times. I want to shoot these as fast as I get what I'm feeling is a good sight picture, because that's what I would do in a USPSA competition, is I'm going to be shooting fast, and so I shot the course fast, and I'll continue to do that with these other guns. So would have liked the score to be a little bit better, but you can pass with this gun. I did finagle it a little bit because of the mag situation, but if I had brought my 12-round mags, I would have not had any problems passing the course of fire as it's meant to be shot. So would have liked to have seen that better, but again, you know, I had a lot of misses. In regard to the match, one of my biggest takeaways from the match was the Neo mag. Now, I did not do any practice with the Neo Mag going into that match. The very first draw out of that thing was on the clock on stage 1. And you can see in that video, it took a very long time. I had to get my hand in there and fish it out. It didn't come out easy. That reload was slow. My buddies were shitting all over me while I was doing it. That one was rough. Now, as the match progressed, I did get a little bit better with that. So it got better stage 2 and even a little bit better stage 3. And so I think with continued practice, I could get much, much faster than what you saw on camera there. But I don't think you'll ever be as fast as taking that mag off of an IWB mag pouch from your appendix area. It's just way faster. So, you know, I definitely took away from that. If I don't carry a spare magazine, I mentioned that already, but if I did, it probably wouldn't be in the Neo Mag. I would carry it appendix in an IWB mag pouch. You know, most of these companies now make them where it's sort of I call it the T-Rex style because I seem to remember them being the first one to do it, but everybody kind of has the, you know, the holster and extra mag pouch attached, you know, that sort of stuff. If you're going to carry spare mag and have to use it, that's definitely faster than fishing it out of that magnetic carrier from your pocket. And I've thought about it a little bit, and I just don't really think there's many situations where I would want to go to the pocket for something like that. I always keep my phone in my left pocket, so there's not a lot of room anyway. My right pocket's usually got my keys and my knife in it. You know, maybe a pocket gun if I'm pocket carrying. So I just feel like you've got more of the real estate in your appendix area anyway. Like, why wouldn't you throw the spare mag there and have the benefit of being able to get to it way faster? So that was a big takeaway for me there. Another thing is, you know, in that indoor setting that we shoot at, the lighting isn't great. Now, I shot in that place for years with iron sights, but my competition pistols, for the most part, used a blacked out rear and a fiber sight, so that fiber front sight would pick up, you know, whatever ambient light's in there, and it was a lot more visible than, you know, what the iron sights have on this gun, which is, this is a, you know, a high vis painted orange with a tritium insert. It's hard to see in there. Again, I've already talked about sort of how I feel about the sights. And so when you get on the clock and, you know, you're shooting for time, you're shooting on the move, you know, my precision definitely suffered in there. You know, the first stage I got on my hits, my points were not great, you know, from a competitive standpoint. But then the second and third stages, I had mics and even I think at least one no shoot in there. Another thing you could see in the match is those shots were trending high left. On that tough partial in there, I you know, clipped one into the no shoot, and then I sent a mic over its left shoulder, and I think I did that 2 different times, and that's definitely from where the gun's sort of impacting, you know. So I took that away, you know, from the match too. It's, you know, red dots are better. Shooting red dots versus shooting irons, particularly in a lighting situation like that, irons are slower. You know, they're not nearly as precise. I think if you went and put a dot, whether that Viridian or got it cut, your scores would improve in the match, and they would definitely improve on that APOS qual. So, you know, it's definitely a weakness of these guns, but that's going to be a weakness of, you know, any kind of tiny gun that you're running irons with. You know, it's just not going to be as good or accurate as a red dot gun, you know, particularly not a much bigger, easier to control red dot. So another takeaway I had from the match was these 12-round mags. So you saw, I think, on that second stage where I loaded into the gun, shot one round went off and I had to rack it. The gun didn't jam. The mags are just super stiff. These 12 round mags, it is very difficult to get all 12 rounds in them, and when you do, you really have to slam the shit out of that mag into the gun for it to lock in. And I thought I did, but it didn't. I fired that one round, it popped out, and I had to slam it back home and, you know, rack the gun. But so that wasn't a, you know, it wasn't a jam. It was just me not hitting the mag in, you know, hard enough. But they're definitely super stiff. You know, maybe they'll break in a little bit, but they're hard to load and they were hard to get in the gun. So you definitely saw that there, and I was conscious of it, you know, after the fact. In regard to match placement, normally at this match, I am at least a threat to win minor. We've got several guys that shoot open. Don't usually beat those guys. I'll catch one on a bad night and get them occasionally, but as far as like minor goes, I'm generally a threat to win minor. I think in this match, and I'll try to pull the scores and post them, or either, you know, give everybody an idea, but I want to say there's probably, you know, 14 shooters, and I probably came in 11th place. And so, you know, normally if there's a couple of open guys, you know, I'm third, fourth, something like that. So it's definitely like, you know, you're not keeping up with most people. I did beat a few guys, but, you know, you're not going to keep up with somebody that knows what they're doing, you know, that's running a Glock and a red dot or something like that. So the match placement with this one, you know, wasn't great. And I want to say I was probably, you know, for those of you guys that know hit factor scoring or how USPSA scoring works, I was 40%, something like that, 44% of the winner who is an open shooter. So, you know, not great. And, you know, those mics and misses and the points down, it was, you know, not a great score, but it wasn't like a super easy open targets or anything like that. There's some partials and stuff. And, you know, some of the shooting was 10 yards, 12 yards. I don't think we got back to 15, but, you know, definitely, you know, 12, 13-ish on some of those shots. So, you know, it definitely, you know, shooting a tiny gun from concealed carry, you know, that definitely is going to affect your squad gun. But it was, you know, it was fun. I enjoyed it. I definitely will shoot this gun in a match again, particularly if I put a red dot on it. I think that's all I have for you guys. I'd appreciate, this is going to be my first video. I'd appreciate all the YouTube stuff, liking, commenting, subscribing. If you're interested in this sort of thing, this video is going to end up being long. I know, you know, everybody's attention span is relatively short, but I've got more of these coming with other carry guns, competition guns, things like that. I'd love feedback that you have, so comment or whatever on what you like, what you didn't like, and I'm willing to make adjustments. I'm doing something that I have sort of wanted in some of these videos, and some people do this sort of thing, some people don't, but I'm open to feedback. So I'd appreciate any constructive criticism. Thank you for watching. If you hung in this long, I certainly appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.